Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Amy attacks with Bomat Courier. She uses a fetch land afterwards, and through process of elimination is able to deduce that the card she exiled with Bomat Courier is Misthollow Griffin. On a later turn, Amy attempts to cast the Misthollow Griffin. Her opponent calls for a judge, and protests that Amy cannot do this. What is the appropriate infraction, penalty, and fix? First of all, Amy's opponent is correct. Amy is not allowed to cast Misthollow Griffin here. To see the technical reasons why, you can take a look at yesterday's video where I talked about this case in detail. Now, on to what we would do. I always ask for the infraction, penalty, and fix in that order because the correct penalty and fix depends upon what infraction the player has committed. In other words, what actions the player took that were against the rules and how that's classified into Magic's system of infractions. So, a lot of the time, it's pretty straightforward to determine. If a player looked at a card they weren't supposed to see, it's looking at extra cards. If they made an error in the mulligan process, it's a mulligan procedure error, and so on. In this case, I would say that determining the appropriate infraction is actually the step that takes the most amount of thinking. So, let's take a look at exactly what game actions Amy took that were against the rules. So, usually, when you play a spell that you're not allowed to play, for example, if you try to cast a sorcery at instant speed, or play a creature during a time when you aren't able to play creature spells, then the appropriate infraction in cases like that would be a game rule violation. Now, if you watched yesterday's DDR, I already alluded to a different infraction for this case, looking at extra cards. So, to see why, let's take a look at Amy's act of casting Misthollow Griffin. It's actually legal for Amy to cast Misthollow Griffin here, if there was a Misthollow Griffin that she were able to cast. However, the thing that's preventing her from doing so is the fact that while exiled face down, Misthollow Griffin has no characteristics, and therefore the ability that's usually letting her cast that spell is non-existent. So I would argue that the first thing Amy did that was against the rules was flipping Misthollow Griffin over. Now, you might think that this is a pretty subtle difference, and I agree. I could definitely see a judge who wouldn't consider turning over a card and looking at it to be a different enough game action from attempting to cast Misthollow Griffin that they would consider a difference between these situations at all. And so I could definitely see a judge ruling that this was a game rule violation. However, in my opinion, the looking at extra cards certainly fits this situation better. Now on to the penalty. Both of looking at extra cards and game rule violation have a warning as the penalty, so either way we're doing the same thing. And now finally for the fix. And here's where things get a little bit unusual again. So ordinarily, in cases for looking at extra cards, the card that you looked at would get shuffled back into your library. However, that's only the case if you looked at an extra card that was in the library. The policy documents don't have any additional remedy listed if you look at an extra card that you're not supposed to be able to look at and it isn't in the library. So the policy supported fix would be to just turn the card face down and move along. Now, that isn't a really satisfying answer, but that's what we have in the policy. And if we were going based on this being a game rule violation, we don't have a whole lot better. So in cases of a game rule violation, the policy supported fixes would be to, well, leave the game state as is or back up. And in either case, we still don't have anything that really addresses the root problem here of Amy looking at a card that she isn't allowed to see. And so either way, I guess, we have the exact same situation. The fix is to basically do nothing. Now, whenever I get these sorts of really non-palatable fixes that don't really seem to fit the situation super well, I always like to ask for other people's opinion. So, what do you think? Is there a way that we could amend Magic's policy documents that would give a better or more natural, or even closer to what the game state would have been without the error? I'd love to see what you have to say. But that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again tomorrow for another daily ruling, but until then, I hope you have a great day.